Good morning and God bless. We have a very important episode for you today. I think they're all important. I just feel good about what we do here that way. But there's a real pull towards energy space, energy vampires, protecting your space, and we're going to get into that but from two different lenses. One is protect your space, be careful who you let in. And the second is don't forget that you are the space too. It's not always somebody else. A lot of the times and most often, it's you. But God bless and let's get busy, all right? Covenant contamination. Who is breathing in your boundaries? You ain't tired because you're overworked. You're tired because you let too many people breathe in a space they were never called to enter. And sometimes the one contaminating the space is you. Warning. This scroll exposes the contamination of covenant by spiritual intrusion, intentional or not, whether it's access you gave away too freely or control you enforced too harshly. If the air feels off, you are either breathing in poison or becoming it. Side effects may include nervous system fatigue from being the regulator and the toxin. That's right. Flashbacks to atmospheres you dominated, not protected. Guilt dressed as leadership and a violent urge to reclaim spiritual purity at the source. Yeah. Welcome to Raw for Epoch 2, day 150. Today we're confronting covenant contamination, not just from the people around you, but from the frequency you carry when you forget your assignment. It's not all just everybody else. We're about to find out how it's you. Bonus today, we got two concept. Oh, excuse me, sorry, I went too far ahead. We have two visual metaphors, but let's roll into our concept overview. Every atmosphere you enter becomes a reflection of what you breathe into it. And if you are the architect, the builder, the frequency setter, you are also the risk. Most people only audit the people they let in. But today we're auditing the energy you bring, the pressure you enforce, the silence you manipulate, the proximity you demand without discerning if your spirit is clean. You see, you don't just protect the covenant by saying no to others. I know they sell you shirts on that for $99.99. You protect it by making sure your presence doesn't poison the air you're trying to purify. Here's what you'll learn. Why covenant contamination often comes from the strongest person in the room. How power, intensity, and secrecy distort spiritual atmosphere when left unchecked. Why leadership without introspection becomes emotional suffocation. How spiritual rigor can become spiritual terrorism when driven by fear, ego, or addiction. And how to clean your own frequency before blaming the breach on others. Please be clear as we move forward into this. This is sort of an introspection. Yes, what you allow around you is borderline criminal. I used that word terrorism. That hurt when I wrote it and said it. But it's still you allowing it. Also, you are bringing your own energy. Don't just be so overly cognizant about what others are doing. We really have to appreciate and understand spiritually how we're holding our own life force. Let's get into a visual metaphor. We're going to look at it two different ways. All right? Imagine your life like a clean room, the kind used in surgery or high-tech labs. And being in that environment, I tell you, surgery, it's got to be clean. It's sterile, controlled, intentional. Now imagine somebody walking in off the streets, no gloves, no filter, no understanding of the assignment, just breathing. Breathing their confusion into your clarity, breathing their fear into your faith, breathing their need into your schedule. And now the air is heavy, the work is slower, your nervous system is on edge. And why? Because they never belonged in your atmosphere to begin with. This is us identifying the energy vampires, if you would. What is in and around your space, breathing on you toxicity, breathing on you trauma, breathing on you pain and suffering, and just sapping you of your life force, that you walk away like, man, I just feel like I went through it. That's real. That's a reality. But we also have to understand you're allowing it. You see, a lot of times this is where we infer that there's something wrong with the people, so you got to cut them off. No, there's something wrong with you for thinking there's something wrong with the people and allowing what you think is wrong to just inundate you. They're good. They're getting what they want from you. There's nothing wrong with that. You can't knock them for that. If you look at it objectively and you really have some self-reflection, they're just doing what you allow. But we don't want to talk like that because that puts so much of the onus on us. But you know how we roll here on the Do You rules. If it ain't you, you can't fix it. So sure, identify it. Yo, when I talk to this person, I feel like I just lost a year of my life. When I talk to this person, it never feels positive. When I'm in this room, when I go to these parties, when I mingle with this crowd, I don't really get the vibe. You're not getting it. That's cool. Nothing wrong with them. But you got to cut it off in that way. Now let's look at it. Let's flip it 180, right? So you got the visual. You're in a clean, sterile room. You're about to perform surgery. Your life is like you're building your life at all times. And somebody's breathing all their toxicity on you, right? Cool. Now picture yourself in a room where you're in charge of the oxygen. You regulate who comes in, how the air flows, and what's allowed in the space. You're like the bouncer. You understand what I'm saying? You think you're protecting everyone, but you forgot to check your own breath. You're still walking around with a gas mask and a slow leak. The oxygen you created is now tainted. Not by intruders, but by your own unfiltered pressure. You didn't just build the room, you built the problem inside of it. We can't run from that. We can't run from it. And if you accept the terms and the conditions of the rooms you are walking into, the environments, the relationships, etc., at some point, accountability has to flow to you. And if it's not 100% on you, I don't know. Well, now the people who are understanding and aware of this, who are creating rooms, who are influencing crowds and inspiring, motivating, building up, building themselves and building others around them, you're responsible for the air in the room. In your relationships, professionally, emotionally, your most intimate community, etc. Your life relationship, God. We haven't even started on God yet. All right, let's get into my personal perspective. Where the chat at? Where you at, chat? Oops, I clicked the wrong button. All right, chat's still waiting. I want to flip it, right? I want to flip it. What happens when you are the contaminant? This is big for me. What happens when the covenant gets compromised because of you? Personally, it's my personal perspective. I've been baptized in every room you can imagine. Streets, we know I was raised South Bronx, baby. That was real. That was very real. Boardrooms, churches, bars, teams, executive circles. And what I learned, every room has a culture. Every room has a pecking order. Every room has an unspoken leader, even when they don't hold the title. You get what I'm saying? The room is always being managed by somebody. That's just the way life works. If you do research on how we're built socially, we look for that. It allows comfort. Everybody knows when they walk in, all right, that person's running things. And what's crazy is when you find a room that somebody has the biggest title and ain't running it. That's when things either are fracturing because they're about to explode better, or they're fracturing because somebody's about to bring that whole room down. And let me tell you something. I was always the leader, even when I wasn't in charge. But here's what's real. I never liked submitting to another man's rhythm. I'd respect the hierarchy, play my role, study the frame, because it's important. You gotta learn. Wisdom is critical. But deep down, I was there to absorb it so I could build my own. Because I've always wanted my own room. All the way straight up and real. Not for the power trip, but for the energy control. I've always been able to understand that. And maybe it's the block, dog. The energy, the control of life and the relational component and aspects that allow authority. It's always who's controlling the room. It's always who brings that energy. It's always who can demand that level of respect, right? We see it in movies. Money or power, power or money. First you get the what? You get the money first, I don't know, it depends. You're watching Scarface, first you get the money, then the power, then the right. But power comes with energy control. And you can always tell people who are about to get the money because they already have the power. It's just everything else that we need to see validated comes. Same thing with the title in the boardroom. There have been rooms, it just is that way. Life continues to need to have other leaders. The younger group of leaders are identified. They're nurtured, even if it's not done in a way that is super obvious or communicated with transparency. People are always, because leaders need other leaders. That's another thing we don't realize. There's always a right hand, right? In every level, every layer, every environment, there's a top dog needs a right hand needs a right hand, needs a right hand, needs a right hand. And it just keeps on perpetuating out. And some people know I'm going to run it. Some people are like, yo, I got this dude. I see his vision. I'm going to run it with him or her. So for me, it was always the energy control. And straight up, I'm militant with my frequency. Who I let near me, who I share silence with, who gets the unfiltered version of me. Critical, because I know what silence says. And I know what energy transmit when nobody's looking. So I don't waste time in weak rooms. I don't indulge short-term wins or clout-heavy culture. I know how that story ends. Short shelf life, long-term residue. But here's the part most people don't talk about. When you build the room, you're responsible for what breathes inside of it. And I've built rooms that suffocated people, not on purpose, but by pressure, by presence, by purity of intensity. So when I drank, if you didn't drink, you didn't belong. When I was reckless, if you didn't play along, you didn't make it on the boat. I ain't force you. I just made it abundantly clear. You're either with the flow or you're out the room. And that is still true today. And that is what I offer you as the biggest possible blessing as we move towards God, the infinite creator, and the life you see for yourself. I want to be this type of man, woman, person. That's your flow. It should be clear when people look at you, speak with you, or even hear your silence, what you are about. And then in that way, you protect your energy. Right? If we're talking about energy vampires, it's like you're walking around with a cross, right? They don't like that. or garlic. You smell like garlic. You're not allowed in my room if you don't flow the way I flow. And in the same way, I'm respectful of your flow. I won't enter your room. I can't own every room. I can bring how I own rooms to every room, to every relationship, to every person, to life, to my difficulties, my struggles, and my pain. But I'm cognizant of that. Why? I'm responsible for my energy. So I'm responsible for who I share it with. I'm responsible for what I accept with it. And so in that way, I can't compromise my energy. I cannot. My spirit is too much. It means too much to me. So that's still true today. Everything I did, man, I reflect, and when I speak, you could see flashes of things that it's just life. That's memory. That's how it works, right? It wasn't all egregious and terrible, but it's just how you learn. And the conversations of how I broke people and how people broke me, I've been broken. That's how I realized I've learned how to break people because I've been broken. I understand what pressure can do to you in varying degrees. I understand what the responsibility of that comes with the respective pressure can do to you. I understand how to choose to move with it. I understand how to choose to just straight cut people off or give like ultimatums. Those are we talk about those things and we encourage it and we teach it and we want people to apply it. Awfully difficult to look somebody in the face like, yo, listen, you ain't cutting it. You just ain't cutting it, dog. You gotta go. Like let's ghost people. Easy to ghost people. You just stop responding. It's kind of weak. I tell people, yo, listen, the way our relationship is moving, I can't flow with you no more. It's just not. Yes, some people don't. You text me, I don't have to respond to you right away. There's that reality. But people learn that based on how I move. But what's crazy is like if I'm reaching out to you and you don't respond to me in the way that I want you to respond to me, I cut you off too. Why? I'm reaching out. I have a level of respect. If I'm reaching out, I expect a response. So people who reach out to me that expect a response need to know that they should be reaching out to me to expect a response. Otherwise, you won't get a response. But the people who don't get a response shouldn't be confused. They should know where they fall, where they stand, where they rest in my circle. My wife, my children, my boss, anybody who's about to do you rules and the flow, it's immediate. Why? That's my priority. God, priority. If you fall outside of that, it may be a day 24 to 48 hours before I respond, and I may not respond at all. So now I move with God. I don't let vague energy live near me. Anything that it's unequivocally, undoubtedly, and unambiguously what I want to do. If you ain't about that, if you confused and you still trying to figure it out and you're not paying me to provide you services, I got nothing for you. I don't got time for what do we need to do? You don't know what to do by now? You don't know what to do? We talked about what to do. We lined up with God. We set a vision. Our spirit is lit. We on 1,000. Now you confused? Nah, you got to go. Why? You're going to hold me down and restrict me. And me trying to help you is going to hurt both of us because now we both stop. It's not to say you don't inspire and motivate and you're not there and you don't support, but who are you in my world? You say you about it. I say I'm about it. Same thing. When I come to you, I need help. I need resources. I need mentoring. I don't come in like, hey, I think I kind of... No, I tell you what I need from you. Can you provide it? Yes, I'll flow with you. I'll follow you. There's also a reality to I only follow but for so long because I only let God lead me. We talked about in life, if you're in the middle, you got to have a mentor that's pulling you up and teaching you. You got to have somebody who's at your level, who's competitive. You should be nurturing people. Those are the varying degrees to which you can have growth. Somebody who's pulling you and showing you what they've already learned, who's usually older and wiser. And for me, more and more, it becomes God and God. I just need to listen. God gives me all the answers I need. God gives me all, inclusive of, yo, here's this person in your life. They're going to help you. But everybody who's ahead of me, and I know how this sounds, but I need you to understand that I am the eye of the pyramid, my G. That's just the way it is. I'm not saying there aren't other alphas. There aren't other people who do it better. There aren't other people who are gonna get more on paper. It's just that I need to be clearly at the top. When I get what I want from you, when I get what I need from you, I'll always be there for you. I'll always provide, but I'm running my own lane. Same thing in business. Promoted until I got my own individual department. You want to be the overarching on the top of, you ever seen an organizational structure? Don't you want to be at the top? It takes a while to get to the top. Eventually, I want to be at the top. The only person that usually you have a board, like a board of directors. My board is God. So vague energy, nah. Your nervousness, your trepidation, nah. You're complaining, you're worrying, your fear of stopping, nah. Fear to get busy, yeah. I don't allow passivity to whisper around my children. Yo, I had this just happen yesterday. My wife, things happened, she needed me to come get her. When she needed me to come get her, that compromised me being able to bring my child to practice, soccer practice. I got uncomfortable because I had to ask somebody for a favor. But I make sure I keep relationships that I ask people for a favor and I'm going to get a yes. Why? I also provide. That's community, right? You help my child, I help your child. So I've helped some people with their children to do things, bringing them, dropping them off, picking them up, dropping them. It's reciprocal. But I do my best to never ask. Why? Because now you are taking my child to soccer. He's highly impressionable. Why? He's 12. You think I do all this research and I learn everything I learned about the brain, about your spirit, about your emotional patterns, your memory, and I don't worry that you might say something that might change the entire direction of my kid's life? That's why I don't let certain people around my children and my family in my home, because what you whisper, what you say, what you bring in with energy might contaminate my entire home, my entire existence, which is bigger than me. It's my family. You want me to drive it? No, I don't want nobody near my kids who don't need to be near my kids. Why? I'm worried about what you might bring and infect them with. No disrespect. I just flow a certain way. Massively protective of that. That's why you can't just ring my doorbell. I got a gate. It's to protect my dog from running out. But really, it's almost a symbol. Yo, when you get this close, be careful what you allow in. This house just doesn't let anything in. My home, my body, my spirit, my God. I don't let just anything in. But respectfully, I don't just bring anything to you. I walk around and I work on no jealousy, no envy, no condemnation, no judgment, no ill will. I don't want to bring that to you. I'm responsible that way. I don't want to infect you neither. I'm human. I'm susceptible. You don't know what I've been through. I don't want to give you that. I do not make room for jealousy, gossip, doubt, emotional freeloading, or spiritual laziness. You bugging. You don't just get access because you text. Just because we have history, just because we used to align. Yo, I love you. There's a lot of people. I love you. But you may never hear from me again. Because my air is sacred. Do you get that? My air that I breathe in is sacred. My force field, everywhere I go, my projections, what I see, where I go, it's sacred to me. Thank you, God, I'm alive today. That is sacred to me. Life. Go back to the kids. I wake up my kids. Yo, it looks like you can breathe. It looks like your fingers and your toes. I say, my son hated me. Head, shoulders, knees and toes. I say that to myself, yo, all your faculties work. You're blessed today. That's sacred. We get to have conversation and breathe and live life together. Sacred. And when you flow that way, like, yo, everything about me is God, faith, honor, loyalty. My family comes before me. My legacy, how I transfer consciousness, how I transfer love is vital to my life. It's easy. You bugging. You don't have that same flow. My air is sacred. So when you build a covenant with God, you start to see how often you've contaminated it with your own fear, control, addiction, or intensity. As I've said, I have suffocated my own soul. I've suffocated myself with substances, with silence, with rest I didn't trust, with godless hunger disguised as legacy. And so now, if you haven't figured it out yet, I'm obsessive with my energy, and I'm not ashamed of it. Because when God breathes into your atmosphere, you don't just let anybody breathe next to him. Here's the Black Book insert. I got so hyped and talked so fast, I'm twisting over myself. Let's see where the chat at. All right. Don't worry. This will make it to you. Consciousness and spiritual boundaries. Here's what most people don't realize. Every emotional interaction carries frequency, and your nervous system absorbs tone before it processes language. So when somebody enters your space, even silently, their energy breathes into your system. And if they are spiritually unstable, their chaos becomes your fatigue. This is spiritual fact, not opinion. Why? Because the human system is designed to synchronize mirror neurons. I had to look this up. Hormonal resonance, limbic regulation, all of it is built to connect and match. That's beautiful in covenant when you're locked in on flow, but it's deadly when you're locked in on dysfunction. If somebody hasn't been cleared by God to be in your space, then every breath they take in your atmosphere pulls oxygen from your calling. This is how harmless relationships start to feel heavy. This is why checking in turns into being spiritually checked out. This is how good people with good hearts still infect covenant containers. Because proximity is permission. And spiritual permission given without clarity, that's how the enemy gains access without having to break in. Let's continue to break this open. Your nervous system is a spiritual filtration system. Every emotion you express, every silence you hold, every expectation you enforce carries frequency. If your internal world is poisoned by addiction, fear, ego, or control, then your presence ain't neutral. It's contagious. People don't just feel your strength, they breathe in your unresolved trauma. So you can't build covenant if your own oxygen is unfiltered. You'll end up blaming others for tension you brought with you. And God, he don't dwell in pressure. He dwells in presence. And when presence gets polluted, your leadership becomes the very leak you tried to guard against. There are consequences. Be careful with your spirit. Be careful with your energy. Be careful what you let in. Be careful what you say no to. Be careful what you don't say no to. Be careful what you say yes to. Be careful what you don't say yes to. You should be running an audit on everybody and everything in your life right now. Consequences. You confuse connection with covenant and end up breathing recycled air that was never meant to sustain your system. Your emotional stamina drops. Have you experienced that? You have less emotional capacity to handle yourself because emotionally you're being drained by everybody else. You start adapting your rhythm to match somebody else's instability. When you allow complaining, comparing, contrasting, condemnation, coveting, all that into your world, you're matching it. You create environments where people conform but never grow. You mistake compliance for covenant. You exhaust the people you say you love, then blame them for collapsing. You normalize suffocation and call it leadership. You lose the ability to receive correction because you only build space for control. And worst of all, you forget what your atmosphere used to feel like because contamination slowly made the chaos feel normal. We talk about all these things, memory, fear, trauma loops. Why are we so comfortable in it? The chaos is what you have built. Here's how to lock this daily remembrance. Audit. Who has real access to your day, your emotions, your unfiltered presence? Stop explaining your rhythm. If they need the explanation, they are not aligned. This is so massively powerful and should not be understated. Hey, would you mind coming with me? Nope. If it's no, it's no. If it's yes or yes. Nothing needs an explanation. If you feel yourself having to explain something to somebody, they're not really aligned with who you believe you are. Or you're overly concerned with what they're going to think about you. Or that you may not be liked as much. Are you bugging? This is cliche in the non-drinkers. Somebody asked me the other day, I'm approaching 4 years. Oh my God, are you serious? I don't need to explain that. Are you serious that you poison yourself every night? I did that. Not knocking it. I'm just saying, why you got to question me? I don't need to question you. I need to explain myself. You want to practice frequency fasting. Go 72 hours without certain people and observe your clarity. Here's also a reality. Yo, if you can go 72 hours, no text, no nothing. Don't feel like you're on vacation. Don't post nothing. Don't give nobody no clue. Just frequency fast, 72 hours, boom, go dark. And watch how much clearer you get. Watch how much you start to freak out too, because you're not you know what I'm saying? But also watch how the people who really love you will continue to raise up on the hierarchy, and the people who just abuse your energy, they need somebody else. So if they can't complain to you for 3 days, they're going to go find somebody else. That'll be beautiful. It'll be liberating. How about saying this out loud? Covenant is sacred. If you're breathing in my space, you better be called to build it. Ask, is my presence, we got to go both ways here. Is my presence a blessing or a burden? Are you contaminating rooms? Are you leaving people distraught? And are you zapping them of their life? Are you a blessing or a burden? Do a spiritual air check. What do people breathe in when they sit with you? Reverse the lens. Before you cut somebody off, ask if your rhythm made them need oxygen. Are you suffocating people? Declare this out loud. I will not poison the presence. I will not confuse pressure with protection. I breathe God. And only God breathes through me. That's how we start building remembrance. Now let's get into our ARR covenant creation loop that we can start today. We audit, remix, re-record. Let's start with an audit. Think back to the last time you left a conversation, a room, a text thread, feeling off, right? Ask yourself, was that a relationship or a leak? On the flip, what's one room you created that became contaminated, not because of them, but because of you? Answer those honestly. Then you want to hit them with the remix. Here's a thought. I don't want to hurt their feelings. Here's the truth. You're hurting your spirit by letting them stay. Peace don't need permission. Peace does not need permission to protect itself. Here's another thought. The lie. They weren't strong enough to stay. The truth. Your frequency made it impossible for them to breathe. Yeah, it's not always somebody else. Then you want to re-record. Take some action. Revoke access. Block if needed. Pull back without guilt. You're not being harsh. You're being obedient. Oxygen is not optional. You can't breathe. Let them go. If you are the culprit, repent, recalibrate, rebuild the room, lower the pressure, elevate the present. Let God set the tone this time, not your fear of betrayal. How you feeling about your energy now? You were never meant to suffocate for somebody else's comfort. You are the clean room. You are the sealed space. You are the breath of covenant. You were never meant to lead with control. You were meant to lead with clarity, containment, and covenant. And when the air gets thick, don't just ask who walked in. Ask what you brought with you. Clean the breath, clear the room, protect your atmosphere like your future depends on it. Because it does. And make sure God's the one setting the rhythm, not your residue. Own it or be owned by it. You either run the system or the system runs you. Change your mind, change your life. I am who I say I am. Do you and stay rich.